These last few years have made us question everything. Our relationships, our jobs, what constitutes an office, and who we are. In a world filled with chaos, confusion, and uncertainty, we envision a world where everyone knows their why. But even more, we envision a world where everyone knows their WHY.os. Their why, their how, and their what. The operating system that drives you, that lets the world know where you stand, what your unique gift is, and most importantly, who you are. WHY.os. Are you ready?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Why Not Wednesday. I am excited to share our guest today. As you guys know, on Why Not Wednesday, we talk to our coaches who are WHY.os certified. We talk to friends of Why Institute who have been impacted by learning their WHY.os, or we just like to talk to people and find out about their why not moments. And today's guest, you're going to absolutely enjoy. She's in the green room ready to come out and tell us about what she's up to today. But, you know, I got to tell you a little bit about Gigi Sabbat. She is the CEO and founder of Life Service Center of America. She's a motivational keynote speaker, an award-winning author of 2 books, Walk With Me and God First. And those 2 books have been endorsed by Les Brown, who is just one of my favorite motivational speakers. So he's right up there with Gigi Sabbat. She's the first generation Haitian American, a financial expert. She leads the Florida chapter leader for World Women Conference and Awards. And she's the host of the Walk With Me podcast, which I have been on and I had a great time on. So without any further ado, let's welcome my good friend and your new hero in life, Gigi Sabbat. How are you, Gigi?
Fantastic, Dan. It's such an honor to be here with you today.
You are such an inspiration, Gigi. I just knew, you know, and for those of you keeping count, this is Gigi's second time on the show. We had such a great time the first time, but we also had a fun experience. So I've got to tell this story, Gigi. So Gigi took the why discovery a long time ago through our mutual friend, Melanie Ake. And so we know something about the people with the why of trust, right? Trust is very important. And one of the things people with the why of trust will not do, I don't think ever do, and Gigi, you could probably verify this, is they're not going to answer something if they can't answer it truthfully. So after our first interview, I said, Gigi, you know, I noticed you haven't taken the full WHY.os. So I sent her the full discovery. And Gigi wouldn't do it. And she's like, because there were so many questions. And those of you who have experienced the WHY.os discovery, there's so many questions that are so thin sliced, right? Because we're trying to narrow down your how and your what. And Gigi was like, I can't answer that. And so we had and by the way, Gigi, thank you for helping us make the discovery better, because it was your feedback that said, look, Dan, there's some hard questions that I just could not answer. And so I got on the phone with Gigi and I said, look, there are some questions going to be really hard because we're asking you to say which one feels more like you, and they both feel like you, and you got to pick the one that feels more like you, even if it's 0.001% more like you than the other. And Gigi's like, oh, okay, now I can answer it. And then she was able to go back and do it. So Gigi, what was that like? I mean, you just couldn't get yourself to answer if you couldn't answer truthfully, right?
Absolutely. And that's such a great question. I remember, and I was actually doing it at the coffee shop. And I was sitting there and I was reading the questions, and I said, as much as I would like to answer the question, I just cannot. I cannot answer the question. And you're absolutely right. And as you and I discussed, it's tied back to trust. And thank you for making me aware of that. And so it's so important to know your why and understand it. It's one thing knowing your why, but you need to understand it as well.
Yeah,
So
you did. you did such a great job of bringing that to life, and now we've added that instruction, that almost that specific instruction that I shared with you. Hey, there are going to be some questions where you're going to struggle, and we want you to pick the best one, even if it's only slightly better than the last one, because that helps us narrow down. Because one of the things people don't know is there's like a possible 4,400 question combinations in taking the discovery. You and I both know nobody's going to sit through that long a question and answer session. So we built it so it's logic based. So you only answer a few questions, but the previous answer affects the next question. And so in order to be truthful, you have to take it and answer one answer. You can't pick two. And I love this suggestion from Gigi. What if I could just write in by well, that would throw the algorithm completely off. So we didn't allow that to happen. But Gigi, the reason I wanted to have you back is we did discover your full WHY.os, and it's trust, simplify, and contribute. So what we know about Gigi, now that we have the full picture, is she believes that success happens when we begin with trusting relationships. When you trust me and I trust you, sky is the limit. If we violate Gigi's trust, that's going to be an issue. Her how is simplify, which means she likes to keep things simple. She likes to boil things down to their essence, keep them simple, and help people provide simple solutions. And then what she brings, what you ultimately can count on from her, is she is going to contribute to the success of her clients. So now that we know your full WHY.os, we always ask this question. We couldn't ask it last time, Gigi. How does that feel to you in terms of how you go about your business and all the great things that you do?
Absolutely. And I recall our conversation, Dan, and again, going back to understanding the how as well. And so when we talk about simplifying, we talk about contribute, and we talk about all of these things, it's so important to really, again, understand yourself. And so as you continue to show up, I encourage you to take the why assessment and also to understand your how. And so for me, knowing the why and knowing the how, as I continue to serve others on the front lines, it has opened my eyes tremendously to, again, understanding my how. And again, thank you for bringing that to my awareness, Dan.
Well, I remember when we first met, we had you on Why Not Wednesday. One of the things we know about people with the how of simplify, or the why or the what, when simplify is in your top three, you like to keep things simple. And if you ask Gigi a simple question, she's going to give you a simple answer. She's not going to expand a whole lot. She's going to say, okay, that's the answer you're looking for. And I remember a couple of times we had a little bit of an awkward silence because I just asked a very simple question. So if you want somebody with the why of simplify to give you a bigger answer, you got to give them an open-ended question, right? Because Gigi's here to build trust. She's here to keep things simple, and she's here to contribute, but she can't go against what she likes to do. And it's like, hey, you want a 3-part answer. So I'm going to concentrate on that strength of yours, Gigi, during our time together today. Because one of the things that I love that you do is all these global warriors events that you do. I was part of your recent one, the ADHD Warriors Conference, but you have a confidence, you got an OCD Warriors Conference, you got an eating disorders global warriors conference tomorrow, and then you got your Royal Warriors Conference in Florida. So what was the genesis for creating these global conferences where you bring thought leaders together to share their experiences on all these different issues?
I love what you said there, and I'm going to pull up my Bible here. So when we talk about Genesis and we talk about the beginning, we need to go back and going back to the root cause of everything, right? And so thank you for sharing that, Dan. And so when we talk about the events, it started off with domestic violence and sexual assault, topics that I'm a survivor of, and God led me to host them on several events, several other topics, and we just haven't stopped since. And as you mentioned, Dan, we do have the Global Eating Disorder Conference coming up here tomorrow, and it's so important to really not just, again, know what an eating disorder is, but also really listen in to understand how these individuals were able to really get through their eating disorder, or if they're still battling with the eating disorder, what's really keeping them from pushing through, or also too, why do they feel stuck? And so if you just listen in, and it's it has transformed my life, really listening into the individuals. And honestly, I can tell you each individual story is truly unique. And you would think that with an eating disorder, it's similar, but it's not. And so I encourage you to listen in tomorrow if you join us. And again, remember, this is for you. And when we talk about the Foster Care Warriors Conference, same thing there. And I am just grateful for all of our sponsors and our speakers, and thank you all for listening in. I appreciate you.
You just said something really important. One of the things you do, Gigi, is you give people a voice. And I think you give so many different people a voice that it allows for different people to get something out of it. I was part of your ADHD Warriors Conference, and I never thought I'd be talking about my own ADHD in a positive light. But I remember when we talked about, okay, what do you want me to title my portion of it? And we titled The Gift of ADHD. And I never really thought about it as a gift. But when we came up with that title, it really made me dig deep and think, okay, what are the things that make ADHD a gift? What are the creativity that comes with it? The ability to handle multiple things at once that overwhelm other people. And then you had such a great panel, and I learned something from everyone else that was on that panel, and I got different perspectives. And I think you do a great job between yourself and the panelists of bringing fresh perspectives and different ideas. How did you come up with that concept, and how do you keep track of it all? You're a Simplify person. How do you do that?
So circling back to your question there, and so first and foremost, all the glory to God. And when we talk about the events, again, it's not me, and it's God. I just let go and let Him, and I listen into Him, and I'm so in tune with God's purpose for my life. I'm just so in tune. And I get fired up talking about it, and I have chills as I'm talking about it, and I love it. And when you love what you do, it's no longer work. And if you're listening to this message today, I encourage you to step into purpose and stay in purpose. Don't have one foot out and don't have one foot in. Have both foot in and stay in God's purpose for your life and continue to serve His people. And when we talk about me being able to keep up with all of it, Dan, going back to your question there,
yeah,
it's not me, and I love what I do. And so it's for me, again, it's not work. And when we talk about the Royal Warriors Conference that we have coming up here at the end of this month, that's the Royal Warriors Conference in Miami, Florida. That's on September 29th through the 30th. Again, this is an event you do not want to miss. It's a faith-based leadership and business conference. And when we talk about the Global ADHD Warriors Conference, I can see you have it up there that we previously just did. Dan, I appreciate your talk. It was such a powerful talk, very inspiring as well. And I love what you mentioned there in regards to your daughter during your talk, and how she inspires you as well. And she's such an inspiration to the world. So thank you for sharing that with us. And when we talk about ADHD, there's a stigma and some misunderstanding in regards to ADHD, and we really need to talk about ADHD more.
I love that. Thank you for bringing that back up. And we're going to tell us more about the conference in Florida. It's in person, so most of your events are online. Tell us about your live event coming up, and you said it during the pre-show. We talked about it. It's one you don't want to miss. Tell us a little bit more. Who's going to be there? How do you get there? Let's get some details out. So anybody because I'm going to be in Florida. When is it again, Gigi?
That's on September 29th through the 30th. And again, bring a notebook and a pen, and make sure to take notes. I know I will be taking notes as well, as I always do. And I out of respect for all of our speakers as well. And when we talk about the event, again, we have business owners attending. We have entrepreneurs. If that's you, I encourage you to join us. This, again, it's an event you do not want to miss. So much value will be provided to you. And if you feel stuck right now, you don't have to remain stuck. We are all aware that we have all just been through a pandemic. Many individuals have been affected by the pandemic. Many industries and many systems have been affected. We are all together. We stand with you. You're not alone. And I encourage you, if there is a goal that you have put aside, I encourage you to circle back to it. Do not give up. and step into God's purpose for your life.
I have to ask about this, Gigi, because every time Faith, when I mentioned Genesis and you pulled your Bible out and you're talking about God's purpose, I want to definitely dig into that a little bit more, because when we bring up faith, Gigi's face lights up. She loves God. She loves talking about her faith, and it's such a big part of you. What makes you so passionate about sharing your faith?
I love God. And also too, it's so important to understand whose you are. And so yes, I do have my Bible with me here, but I also have the Bible on my phone, on my mobile device here. And so you can't see it because of the backdrop, but the amazing thing is the Bible app today, it allows you to read the Bible right where you are. And so it doesn't matter where you are. And oftentimes in the past, I heard folks say, well, it's not in my language, but here's the reality. Now it is. And you can read it now. And that's so amazing. And so I encourage you, if you have put it aside because of worrying about if it's in your language or not, I encourage you to actually pull it up, because now they have it in various languages. And also when you read the Bible, understanding again that you're continuing to build a relationship with him. I have read the Bible several times now, and I still read it. And folks say, why are you still reading it? And so again, it's about continuing to build a relationship with him. And I love what Joyce Meyer says when she says it's not one and done, because it's not one and done. You continue to read it daily.
We all have favorite movies or favorite shows or favorite books, right? That every time we read them, you get something different. And I think that's what you mean by it's not a one and done, because you might get a different insight from the same verse or the same chapter that you read before, depending on the situation you're in.
That's right. And you're absolutely correct. When it comes to faith, I do get fired up and I love talking about it. And so it's so important to meet people where they are. And I recall having a conversation with my niece, and she says, Auntie, so many things on social media nowadays. And I know my faith, I understand it, and I want to digest it and I want to step into it. But then I see all of these other things that steer me away from it. And she asked me, how can I stay in my faith and true to myself and really begin to remove myself from all of those negative things that I'm seeing and that I'm actually participating in? And I advised her and I encouraged her, and I met her where she is, understanding where she is at this moment and letting her know that God loves you as you are. And again, you do not need to be perfect. Many individuals believe that they need to be perfect before they go to him. That's not the case. He loves you as you are. You're the child of God. It's important to understand whose you are. And so you can go to him. And many individuals believe that they need to go to a church before they can go to him, or before they can pray. No, you pray right where you are. And you got me started here, Dan. So I'm fired up here. And so as we talk about building a relationship with him, again, if you are wondering where to begin, you can start with the Bible. And really, again, when you read his words, it's building a relationship with him. And it's not the end when you're done reading. Continuing to build a relationship with him is so important.
I heard a great quote the other day. I'm going to run it by you and get your thoughts, because I know you'll have a great answer for this. It was, God loves you just the way you are, but he loves you too much to let you stay that way. You are called to greatness. And if you are not living into your greatness, into your full potential, he loves you too much to let you stay there. And you just got to trust and put it in his hands. So what do you, I love your thoughts on that quote.
Absolutely. And great question. So that's going back to the challenges that you face. And so many individuals that go through a depression, or they have anxiety, or all these things, or they have the unhealed trauma that they have not faced. Right. And I say that because I when we talk about the trauma component, I've been there. Right. And really being able to just understand, again, it's okay to just let go. And what are you letting go? You're letting go, and you're letting God. So I'll say it again, let go and let him. And remember that whose you are, but also understanding that God is in control. and keeping him at the center of all things, not just in your personal life, but keeping him in the center of your business, your relationships, in all areas of your life.
So, Gigi, what do you say to someone? And this is a great question that I hear a lot. You know, I shared with you that as I share my faith with people, I've learned that I'm making great connections with other people of faith. But some of us, there's so many people out there that are worried. Well, if I get too religious, or if I share my faith too openly, am I gonna repel some people? What do you say to someone who's a person of faith, who believes strongly like you do, but that's not really wanting to put it out there for fear of alienating some people?
Be who you are. It's okay. It's okay to be who you are. And similar to how folks want an individual to respect them and their beliefs, the same goes the other way around. Otherwise, it would be a contradiction, correct? And so it's so important to meet people where they are. And it's in the Bible as well. Treat others how you want to be treated. It goes back to what we learned as children. And again, love your neighbor as thyself. It's in the Bible. And again, yes, folks' faith may be different. Someone may have a different belief than you, but are you telling me that you're not going to listen into that person because their faith may be different, or you may not love them the same as someone else because of their faith? Well, the reality is not everyone's faith is the same. Not everyone believes the same. And some folks believe in a higher power. They utilize a different term. And so again, it's so important to really listen in and why that may be the case. And oftentimes what I found is that some folks may have faced a challenge, again, that has caused them to steer away from their faith. Or they say, well, God caused this to happen, and so I don't believe anymore. If you're listening to this message today, I've heard from several folks similar to you, and I can tell you, and going back to one of the books my friend wrote here, and he talks about how the devil is real. And we have to remember that is a fact. And when we're able to understand that, we're able to understand that God wouldn't allow those things to happen, that the devil does exist, and that's what's causing those things to happen. And understanding that God won't bring you to anything that he won't get you through. He will always get you through, and that you're not alone. One of my favorite verses is Joshua 1:9. It states, haven't I commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not be afraid or discouraged, for your Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And therefore you're not alone. And when folks face a challenge, the initial thought is, I am by myself. I am going to give up, or I'm going to commit suicide. And that's it. No, if you're listening to this message today, I encourage you to never give up, and remember, you're not alone.
I love the passion with which you said that. And I love the message, because the evil one, right? He wants you to feel alone, and he wants you to give up. And that's part of the plan. I listened to a podcast. Boss Rutan is a former MMA fighter, and he talked about, hey, the devil, just like God, has all the time in the world. So if you're an alcoholic and you're struggling with that, and you've not drank for 20 years, guess what? He's got 20 years to wait, 40 years. All he needs is to get you to take that one drink. Even after 40, you could be sober for 40 years. For him, 40 years is nothing. But it's also, we got to remember, for God, 40 years is nothing also, right? So he's there with you to help you. And after you do have that fall, that one drink, that one, you overate, if that's your issue, you can still come back. He's there to help you.
That's right. Your challenges do not define you. I know someone right now who was facing, they were facing an alcoholic issue, and this was for 40 years plus, Dan. And this individual came forward to me and said, Gigi, I have been saved, and I have literally been able to put the drinks down, and I'm ready to face the unhealed trauma. And when I heard this individual share that, I couldn't help but think about what I observed here. And this was God literally transforming this individual's life right before my eyes. I've literally witnessed this individual with a drink in their hand for several years, and now able to put the drink down and said, I'm ready to give it to him. So powerful.
Gigi, I feel your passion. And as I looked at your mission, Your mission is to help other individuals not only survive in life and in business, but thrive. And I can see, but one of the other things, when I look at your passion, it's about giving and helping others to be more successful with your never give up attitude. What in your life gives you that never give up attitude?
My faith. My faith. And when we talk about never giving up, it's so important to understand that you're not the challenges that you face in your life. And I love what you shared there, Dan, in regards to those examples that you shared as far as the challenges folks may face. And so no two individuals are the same, right? Everyone has a unique journey that they've been on or something that they face. And if you're listening to this message today, do not let your challenges define you in a negative manner. And I love what my friend, Dr. Amber Lyon says. She says, utilize pain for purpose. Do not remain in pain. You are not alone. We are with you. We stand with you, and let go and let him.
That is so good. I wanted to share, because as we were talking about faith, you brought something up. You talked about, hey, meet people where they are. And Audre Lorde said once, he said, it is not our differences that divide us. It is our inability to recognize, accept, and celebrate those differences. And I think that's what you mean when you say meet people where they are. They may have a different faith. Their higher power may be different than yours, but understanding and wanting to understand, I think, is the key.
Absolutely. And a good friend of mine's, and she shared with me, hey, Gigi, I know that you love God. And she was very open with me. She said, I believe in a higher power. I hope you still love me.
Mm-hmm.
Let that sit for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been friends since we were children.
Yeah. I love that, because I read something else, and then, I'm glad we're going down the faith conversation, because I saw it was one of those church signs. It said, you will never look at someone, you will never see someone that God does not love. And that's universal. I think he loves all of us, whatever our faith, whatever our leanings, whatever it is that we are doing. I am so glad I had you back, Gigi. This has been so fun. I want to talk about a why not moment, because that's the name of the show. And if we don't do that, Gigi, then I'm going to be in trouble. The name of the show is Why Not. So we've already heard about your why. Tell me about a why not moment in 2023. We're almost 3/4 of the year through, 3/4 through the year. What's your biggest why not moment this year? Something you said why not to. You're so glad you said why not. You could have said no, but you said, why not? Let me do it. Name something. Tell us about something you did this year. You're so glad you did.
Absolutely. And again, that's just me continuing to listen to God and what he needs me to do. And so when we talk about some of the topics that we're covering, oftentimes folks come to me and they say, well, that's a very complex topic. Are you okay or open to sharing that? And here's the reality. When your faith is bigger than your fear, that's it. And so I understand who's at the center, and that's him. And I let go and let him. So when we talk about the events and all these things, I'm just letting go and letting him.
Thank you. That's so good. Gigi, tell me about your big event. That's your gala, isn't it? Coming up in December, the 2023 Life Service Center of America Gala that's coming up. Who comes to this? Why do we need to be there?
Great question. So essentially, when we talk about the gala at the end of the year, we do it every year, and we talk about some of the things that we've done here at Life Service Center of America. And we also we talk about the folks who work for us as well. We appreciate each and every one of you, our sponsors, and everyone who's come forward, our speakers as well, because we recently launched a speaker series. So, and we also give everyone a moment to speak, and also our master of ceremonies as well. And so all of this is possible because each of you and some of our members have joined us from our community as well, and folks as well on the social media platform. One of the things too is when we began doing the events, God led us to do them online. We were going to do them in person, but as you are aware, the pandemic occurred. And so where we could have just said, okay, that's it, we're not moving forward with the events, God said, no, my child, I need you to go and do it online. I said, all right, God, all right, I'm listening in. And I just stepped into it, and we haven't stopped since. And so we do the gala online as well. And if God wants it in person one day, it will be.
I love that. Gigi, how if somebody's listening to this, they've been inspired and they say, hey, that's a person I want to work with. I want to be a part of what she's doing. What's the best way to get a hold of Gigi?
Great question. So folks can find me on the website. You can go to the contact us, contact the team, and you can also find me on LinkedIn.
And Gigi is Regeline Gigi Sabbat. And we've got it here, Sabbat. So, Gigi, it has been a pleasure to spend half an hour again with you. I come away inspired every time I get a chance to see you. So thank you so much for sharing with Y Nation your talents, your gifts, and your passion.
Thank you, Dan. And lastly, I want to leave your audience with, again, never give up and keep moving forward and keep the faith.
Thank you so much, everyone. Let's give it, wherever you are, let's stand up and give a hand to our guest this week. Gigi, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see all of you next week on Why Not Wednesday.